husband was having an affair with 4 women.
I watched that 6-part story, so you don't have to. I do want to give a trigger warning. We are going to be talking about...
Okay.
So that's Shawnee, and she found out shortly after her husband unalived himself that he was cheating on her with 4 different women. 3 of those women were her friends, one of which was her best friend.
Whoa!
She met him at a club when she was about 20 years old. She thought he was so handsome when she first met him. They hit it off immediately. He was well known. He was a scaffolder, and he just was really friendly, and they immediately fell in love. Shortly after that, they moved in with one another, and then about a year into being together, she was pregnant with their first child, and then 2 years later, she gave birth to their second.
Wow, it was quick.
He was a great father, a great husband that did everything he can to make sure he provided for his family. He would always, work late nights and always tell her where he was, what time he was going to be coming back, all that, right? Once they got together, he ended up opening up a car dealership with one friend, and then soon after that, branching out and opening up a car dealership with somebody else just to be able to do it on his own.
That's good.
And it was great. He was, super busy, always working. At least she thought he was. 2010 they had their second child. 2012 they got engaged, and then in 2014 they got married. The only thing she really noticed as a red flag is one day she asked him to use his phone, and he handed it over to her, and she was looking at something and a message popped up, and it was from his mother, and she asked him something. And so Shawnee goes to her husband. She's like, hey, why is your mom asking you this? He immediately goes white in the face, grabs his phone, runs downstairs, locks himself into the living room, and starts just apparently deleting things. And she's like, I asked him about it. He was like, oh, I'm planning a surprise for you. I don't want you to know about it yet, basically.
That red flag, yeah. When someone reacts like that, when you have someone's phone, that is a massive... What could there be on that phone that could make you so nervous that you go white, or you run away, or people grab their phones, they don't allow to use them? The only thing that could be on the phone that could even make you worried is if you're cheating. Literally nothing else. What else could be on there? Nothing. My phone is not even locked. What could there be unless something's gonna get you in trouble with your partner? Nothing except for cheating. Nothing.
And she, at the time, said she was young and just got married and genuinely wanted to believe him. The other thing that she also mentions as a red flag in hindsight,
another one,
that he liked to go out a lot. Now, he would go out with his buddies. He was young, of course. She would always say she didn't like that, but she trusted him. She had no reason not to trust him. He always came home when he said he would. Around 2016, she started to notice that he was getting a little bit more withdrawn. He didn't really seem like himself. He's very outgoing, very charming. She says he has the gift of gab, which in UK terms just means he knows how to really talk. He
gets talk himself out of anything, so basically.
She started to notice that he just seemed really sad, and she assumed it was because maybe he wasn't doing as well in the business as he thought he would be. And when she asked him about it, that's exactly what she said. So she didn't think too much of it. So their daughter's 6th birthday comes up, and Shawnee gets into an argument with her husband. We're going to call him John. They get into an argument over the fact that he's going out too much and and just being out too late, and he just doesn't want to hear about it, right? The day before the daughter's birthday, they end up getting into an argument again over the same topic. He basically...
So can I just say, this actually, I don't know if anyone knows Molly May and Tommy Fury, there's a documentary that came out. Anyway, that was a catalyst for their split, why Molly May wanted to split from Tommy's, because apparently he was drinking, and then drinking kind of caused all this other knock-on effect on the relationship and stuff. Listen, if you're having 2 kids and you're marrying... Why are you still going out to clubs or whatever drinking? People have different opinions on this, but my opinion is you either don't have kids until you get it out of your system. Clubs and bars and drinking. We're not talking about having a drink. Drinking, right? Proper getting drunk consistently, or every week or every weekend. Get it out of your system first. So clearly you still want to be kind of not single, but kind of independent. You don't want to have a family or home life if you're still doing those things. When you're ready to settle down, to have kids, there's totally different life, totally different lifestyle. These two, drink and family and kids, do not go together. Yeah, it's nice to have a little drink maybe on a Friday with your family, or maybe to go out once, sometimes to meet your friends or some kind of event or something. But if you're doing it every weekend, there's an issue. Clearly you want to be leading a different lifestyle, whilst your wife is stuck at home with the kids.
Decides he's going to leave for the night, says he's going to stay at a friend's house. The daughter's birthday was on Friday, doesn't spend it with her. Saturday morning, she doesn't get any type of phone call or text message from the husband.
Yeah.
And then she doesn't hear anything about him until later on that night. One of John's friends ends up reaching out to Shawnee and having some concerns, like, hey, have you heard from him? Like, I haven't heard anything from him. And so she's like, let me see what's going on. So she goes onto WhatsApp and she goes and sees that he hasn't been on the app since 10 a.m. that morning.
Okay.
And that immediately alarmed her because he's always on his phone. So the fact that he hadn't been on the app since 10 a.m., she was like, something's definitely wrong. The kids were actually in the bath at the time, so she got them out, got them dressed, put them in the car. They started heading over to the car dealership garage, and she ends up calling his business partner. The business partner is like, hey, I don't know what's going on. It might be dangerous. Go ahead and pick up my girlfriend and take my girlfriend over there with you. We're going to call his business partner Brett. So she goes and picks up Brett's girlfriend. They head over to the garage. She left the kids in the car. She walks up, and the garage is locked. She can't really get in there. So she calls the police, explains to them what's going on, and they decide to declare this a medium risk case because she mentioned that he was kind of depressed about his job and his business. The police arrive. They're asking her questions. They're like, is there any chance that he's, involved with another woman? He might be with her tonight. And she's like, absolutely not. My husband adores me. He cares about his family. He would never do anything like this. They're like, are you sure that he doesn't have any other relationships? She's like, absolutely not. So they're like, okay. They do what they can. They send her home and they're like, just wait it out, basically. She goes home. She tries to get, some sort of sleep. And she's just tossing and turning, trying to think like, hopefully he just needed some space. Maybe, pressure was too high. He just needed a breather. That's what she's thinking. Around 2 o'clock in the morning, she gets a call from an
my dog is not crazy.
She picks up and it's a woman on the other line. And the woman's like, hey, can you give me John's best friend's number? We're going to call John's best friend Larry. She's like, hey, can you give me Larry's number? And Shawnee's sitting on the line like, who are you? Why do you need his number? She's like, please, please, please. I just need his number. Just give me his number. And she's like, who are you? The woman didn't say anything. So she's like, are you involved with my husband? And the woman goes, yes, I am. And she's like, how long has this been going on? She's like, I've been involved with him for 2 years now. And she's like, did you know about me? Did you know about my children? She's like, yeah, I knew about you guys.
Standard.
So at this point, she's distraught. She gets off the phone with this woman and she's calling her mom. She's calling her best friend. Right as Shawnee's mom and best friend are walking in, she gets a call from John's best friend, Larry. And he's saying, hey, we just found John's body and it's not looking good. He's not with us any longer.
Holy cow.
Follow up with Shawnee and letting her know that they did discover that John was having an affair and that his best friends and his friends all knew about it. Matter of fact, the way that John met the woman, the mistress that called Shawnee at 2 o'clock in the morning, she named her Glenn. She met John through the best friend because the best friend Larry was sleeping with the mistress Glenn first. And then she basically went from the Larry, the best friend, to John, her husband. Also keep in mind, this means that Larry was cheating on his girlfriend, who is Shawnee's best friend. We're going to name her Sally. Of course, when all of this happened, everyone gathered around Shawnee, her family, her friends. They were all there to support her, especially her best friend, Sally. She was there from beginning to end. She helped plan the funeral, pick the colors, pick the music. She was there to talk to the priest. Even in the last moments when Shawnee went to go say goodbye to her husband, she was there with her. First, the best friend went and said goodbye to John's body first, kissed him, hugged him. At first, when Shawnee saw this, she was just thinking, well, you know what, they're really friends. They spend every Thursday together playing poker at the pubs. It's not that surprising that she's heartbroken by this tragedy as well. And then Shawnee went over there and said goodbye to her husband's body as well. But at this point, Shawnee has no idea, right? She trusted her husband so much, she would even joke about their little poker date and be like, oh, my husband's taking you on a date right now. That's how much she trusted her husband and her best friend, not to mention, that was her, that was really her girl. And so fast forward, she's trying to get her mind off of things. She ends up going out for drinks with a friend. And rumors were apparently flying around that the best friend, Sally, was sleeping with her husband, John. And so they're sitting at dinner one day, they're having drinks, and another mutual friend goes, have you heard about this rumor? And immediately Sally's like, this is insane, I would never. Shawnee was even defending her, my best friend would never, I can't believe these type of rumors are flying around, absolutely not. And she told her, I'm going to get my husband's phone back from the police very soon. So if there's anything like that happening, I'm going to find out about it. And Sally's sitting there I already know that. There's nothing for you to find out. She's like, this is all a lie. You have nothing to worry about. The police asked Shawnee, does she know the password to her husband's phone? And she told them she didn't. And she honestly didn't. He would change his password often. He claimed it was because his friends would play pranks on his phone and would do weird things and take photos. So he needed to change his password frequently. In hindsight, now
God.
she knows that's
Well,
not true.
obviously.
She did, however, have the username and the password to his iCloud, and she didn't want to share that with the police because she felt like it was her right to be able to go through it, and she didn't want them to like delete anything. She finally decides, okay, I'm ready to go look this girl up that already has told me that she was having a 2-year relationship with my husband. She looks her up on Instagram. She's completely shocked to see that this woman's basically copying her life, like her aesthetics, the things that she does, like her content stuff. Like this woman's basically trying to mimic her, right? And she also noticed this woman was putting like subtle photos of her husband John, like his legs or the back of his head.
This is so typical, like literally. Oh my God.
Like that I have a man in my life, And then after he passed
Secret
away,
man.
she was full blown posting him, saying I'm his girlfriend, completely disrespecting Shawnee. This woman was so like obsessed with the whole situation. She ends up writing a handwritten letter to Shawnee explaining her relationship with John, hand delivered it to her address, put flowers on John's gravesite, and then she also was basically trying to say like she had the right to feel bad because she was with him for 2 years and she had the right to grieve almost as much or even more than Shawnee did. And Shawnee basically named her a grief thief, and she's like, this woman is absolutely like out of it. And she also was like, as far as getting revenge on her, she didn't care to. Revenge will find you. Like the type of woman you are, like I don't need to worry about karma, it'll take care of you. So she never like did anything to this woman. Even when she showed up to the funeral, she didn't know about it, but her family members and everybody that was there barred her and told her she was banned from the wedding and didn't allow Glenn to come inside, and protected Shawnee's peace as they should. So when she got her husband's phone back, this is when she starts going through it.
What's
she does
that?
discover that Sally, her best friend, was indeed having a full-blown affair with her husband for a few months now. Every time that they were supposed to be meeting to play poker at the pub on Thursdays, they were actually just going in the car and doing what grown folks do. After going through his phone further, she discovered so many more affairs. She found out that he was sleeping with one of their sons.
Once a cheater, always a cheater.
She found out that he was sleeping with her hairstylist, who also did her hair for her wedding, and also sleeping with his own business partner's daughter. Yeah, absolutely insane. The daughter of the business owner, they're actually like family. They even just had recently gone on a family vacation together, and that one like really.
God,
really
nothing's gonna stop my honestly.
Informed the husband about the affair. She was really contemplating whether or not she wanted to tell the husband what was going on, but she just felt like even if they have kids that are the same age as mine, like that's her burden to bear. She made this mistake sleeping with my husband, so I'm gonna let your husband know that you're cheating. She said a lot of people were commenting like, why didn't you get revenge? This is really hurtful information to find out.
What's revenge?
Hindsight of your husband unaliving himself. And she said that like she just felt like for her kids she needed to uphold her dignity and act in a classy way so that they knew like what it meant to be a strong woman. And I think she did that like very
that's the only bit I agree with.
She found out the involvement of her best friend with her husband. It absolutely broke her heart. This is somebody that was there for her from the beginning to the end when she found out everything about her husband, and to find out that she was actually a part of causing the hurt, it completely destroyed her. All she did was text her best friend and say, don't ever speak to me again, like we have nothing to talk about. And the best friend just replied back and said, I'm sorry. They never spoke again after that. Shawnee starts to realize that her finding out this information, she can honestly view it as a gift.
Yeah.
It was almost like a parting gift from her husband. Like, hey, like I relinquish you, like move on with your life. Like there's nothing that you need to feel bad for. In the comments, she was also being asked, like, did you see any signs? Like, did you know that this
Of course there were signs, I guarantee.
Absolutely not.
Nah.
Outside of him in 2016, starting to seem like he was, withdrawing a little bit more.
The phone?
Telling me, like, it was because the business
The
was
phone
doing
incident?
well.
Nah.
I believed him. I didn't think that this was, like, a life or death type of situation, And he was very charismatic, very charming.
So?
She never suspected that he would do something like this. She does recall, like, looking back on things now, that there was one day when they were driving in the car and he had
very charismatic, very charming, and and you thought that was a good thing that he was very charismatic and charming, to everyone. Like, oh God, of course there were red flags. I tell you, I know people, okay, they're not my friends, but they're like someone that I know of, like family or they're related or cousin. Listen, I've seen stuff when they cheat. I know that they're cheating. The wives know the signs. They just chose not to see it. She was probably blinded because she was happy from her side, but I guarantee there is always signs. There are always signs. I already heard how many signs. The constant password changing. What the hell? The going white when she got his phone. Like I said, there could be nothing on there except for if he's cheating. Simple. Wow, I can give my phone to anyone. There's nothing on there, literally nothing. Second of all, going out and drinking, I mean, if you get drunk or you black out or you go out constantly, what does that say? What does the lifestyle say? Also, what kind of friends surrounded him that were cheating? Also, I always say that people that you surround yourself, yeah, you might have slightly different views or like morals, but more or less you wouldn't hang out to people that are totally polar opposite to you. So if they were cheating going out, he was probably doing the same thing or something along them lines. Simple.
Along the lines like, if this business fails, like, I might as well unalive myself. And she didn't take the comment seriously. She told him, hey, don't talk like that, like, we're gonna figure this out. But you know, it's things like that that she noticed, you know, looking back now, that she's like, maybe there was signs. About 3 months after her husband passed away, she did actually end up meeting someone new. And again, because she started to see the cheating and everything as a parting gift, she really didn't feel bad moving on.
Of course not.
This guy really gelled into their lives really well. Like, he promised to be there for her and her kids, and ended up being like a safe space for her, right? And so that's what started off her next relationship. It's been about 9 years since all of this happened. She said the emotional toll that it took on her and her kids, though, was so great. She's never been through anything so traumatic. I mean, you really have to think about it. Like, she found out that her husband was cheating right after he unalived himself. She just really exemplified what it means to, like, have resilience. So did her kids. She said shortly after that, she got her kids into therapy.
That's
and
good.
They were really young when this all happened. They had just barely turned like 5 and 8 or something like that. And generally did not conceptualize what it meant to be unalived and not on this planet anymore. And it took them a while, you know, and now they're teenagers. Like, one of them is in college and they're doing well. She said they don't have any like signs of depression or anything like that, and they've genuinely developed well, you know, but she attributes that to them just being resilient. Shawnee herself did go to therapy. She was diagnosed with complex
Of course, I'm not
PTSD
surprised.
and has been dealing with the aftermath of that ever since, and just really knows that, like, just putting one foot in front of the other and just moving forward was the best thing for her. She's now, you know, in a better place, taking care of her babies and doing what's best for her. She was ready to tell her story now because, first and foremost, her kids are aware of it now and they understand the extent of everything. And so she was ready to, you know, share this story online in hopes that it helps people, especially those that are considering, you know, doing what it is that John did. Just know that there's options. I heard this quote a long time ago, and it just says, like, as long as you have breath, you have options. And I really want to
That's a very good quote.
As long as you have this breath in your body, whatever you're going through, you have the ability to eventually change, and you just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other and changing it. I really think one of the highest contributors to people doing this is like the feeling of hopelessness. Your recipe to getting yourself into a better position is different for everybody, but there is a solution. You just have to search for it. There was a note that was discovered, but she just felt like maybe he just copied and pasted this off of like a website somewhere because it felt so generic. He never mentioned the infidelities. He never mentioned even her name. Like, it just felt so impersonal. She was like, I can't even believe that he was someone that wrote this, right? And so she just kind of like let that go, let it be. Since then, she's honestly realized that he was probably grappling with a lot of things, not to mention the mistress Glenn. She was kind of blackmailing him. She was basically demanding that he get the same purse that he was buying for Shawnee for
That's
Christmas
standard as well.
And saying,
Standard.
like, if you give me this purse, like, I'm basically going to tell your wife. And he was clearly terrified of his wife finding out. But she was constantly like asking for money, for trips, for gifts, all types of stuff. And she was
Why
just, like,
not? I
this
mean,
woman use you as like a cash cow, you know?
He's getting something out there, so is she.
Maybe like the stress of this woman blackmailing him, the business not doing well, like all these things compounded and just led him to think that like this was his only option. So that's why he went ahead and did what he did. But
an easy
at the
option.
end of the day, she's just like, what he did was his decision. It had nothing to do
Absolutely.
with me. But she's hoping that it helps other people.
So, crazy story, but let me just say, I have absolutely no sympathy for the guy, for the husband, because I know this type of people. You know, he was going out, oh, I've got my own business, he's got business, he's cheating left, right and center, was having a wife, looking after his kids at home. And then he's got so deep, women always blackmail and women always speak, okay? If you think that your little secret ain't gonna get out, it will. Women speak. Women tell their friends that they cheat, that they sleeping with someone who has a wife. Women say all kinds of stuff. They'll never keep their mouth shut. So it was his decision. He just couldn't be bothered to deal with consequences. He probably knew his wife's gonna find out. It's a fact. His business was lacking or failing because he was too busy doing other things that we know of. So that's why he did what he did, okay? No sympathy whatsoever. sympathy for the wife, although I'm sure there was red flags and she chose to ignore them because it was just easier. And obviously then she got to the point where it was just, you couldn't ignore it. Things happened, things came to light, truth came out, and she moved on. So I'm very happy for her, and hopefully the kids are okay. But yeah, it is what it is.